Welcome back to Fighters Drinking Coffee. Today we have friend of the show, John Christian. He is a world champion, double gold. By the way, he wouldn't tell you this, but I'm going to because I'm proud of my training partner's accomplishments. But he's a double gold world champion, Masters Worlds, Ultra Heavyweight Masters 4.
Dad bod division.
I like that. They should change the name. He is also a licensed clinical psychologist. He'll expand on that as much as he sees fit. So last week we had talked about last 2 weeks at this point, we had talked about some things that have psychological, limitations. I don't know the wording for it, but things that like have to do with the human psyche. And we're just a couple of athletes and not experts. Scott and I, not experts in the field of psychology.
Speak for yourself.
At least we're not. At least we don't have licenses to be evaluating it. Let's at least go with that. I mean, I took AP Psych, so I know something.
You took more AP Psych than I did.
But John here, Big John as we call him, I've referenced him on the show before. He is licensed to talk about these things. Well, I don't know if that's what the license gives you, but he actually has the background knowledge for it. John, welcome on the show. We're glad to have you. So tell us about psychology, being a world champion.
Can we please start with Star Wars?
Do you want to start with Star Wars now?
Yeah,
I was going to let him introduce. We can start with Star Wars, and then we can go into it. That's fine with me.
You pick.
All right, let's start with Star Wars. Because I also know that you have an alternate theory, but I want to hear, who is Obi-Wan Kenobi?
This is a good question because I'm feeling for like Craig Jones.
So
he's sort of become the symbol of good.
Okay,
so we're
moving him. I actually don't hate this right now. This is good.
If there's one character that's sort of the symbol of like the good throughout, I would say Obi-Wan. And so Craig, constantly in opposition. That's who I'm going with.
All right, I like this.
Craig.
So Craig Jones we have now left, and I think in this instance we're moving on from the Clone Wars. Then is that what we're doing here? Are we moving? Are we saying the Clone Wars are over? I don't hate it. Has Gordon Ryan killed the younglings?
If this helps timestamp us in the Star Wars chronology.
I like that this has slowly evolved into a Star Wars podcast.
Kind of, man.
Pretty soon it won't be about jujitsu.
I've been like hashtagging Star Wars in our posts, and then you'll get like sometimes when you hashtag or something like that, like a random post of like send us this link, and it's like the Star Wars accounts are like send us this link, and I'm like, who the hell? No, you.
I'm sharing this with at Star Wars Community.
Don't think I wasn't like maybe we'll get some residual Star Wars nerds to kind of gravitate over towards us.
We're just trying to cross over.
But as a nerd, I actually saw through Lord of the Rings.
All right, yes, this is good.
All right.
I rewatched the Hobbit series recently, by the way, so I'm kind of like I've been warming up for this.
I was a huge closeted nerd for like much of my, young adulthood and childhood. As the jock who secretly was reading about wizards and elves and shit. And I fully embraced it now in middle age. That's right. In fact, one thing about was attracted to my wife. She's a huge nerd, and I was like, you can be hot and like a nerd. Like I'm gonna marry you now.
Yeah. You're the one.
All right, but the way I see it, Danaher is Sauron.
Okay.
He's the Dark Lord. Okay,
the creator of the rings.
Gordon is Saruman. If you get this,
I'm trying.
And Craig is Gandalf.
Okay,
he's sort of wandering around trying to create an alliance of good to fight the evil. That's what I'm still.
Okay.
But the problem, Mikey pointed out a problem with this theory is all the other characters on the bad side just turned to orcs.
Yeah, he previewed it, and I was like, you're kind of taking all of the people that follow them and just turning them into like these nameless characters. So, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm cool with it.
I just like Mikey Musumeci as Gollum.
Yes, he's Jar Jar.
Nobody really likes
Gollum.
him. He kind of walks weird.
He does walk weird.
He's sitting there. He's always eating.
That's true. He is
always eating. Just When Gollum's he's just noshing on raw fish. Won't eat potatoes, by the way.
No, he doesn't like potatoes. I could get behind that, and yeah, you're right. It does get a little bit tough because the bad guys in Lord of the Rings don't have a lot of names. There's 2, like you said.
Yeah.
You know, maybe like, well, okay. How about this? You got Saruman, and then you do have the Uruk-hai.
Okay,
You have like advanced bad
Yeah.
guys.
We
And
also
then
have
you
the
do have
Ringwraiths.
hordes
which
and
is
hordes of-
Kingsway.
I'm with
New
it.
Wave.
I'm with it. Right. So maybe
Gordon sort of made them. And
so maybe some of the guys that Gordon knighted could be the Uruk-hai.
Yeah.
Because they're more than just orcs, but then there's definitely hordes of orcs.
We also have the options of the Ringwraiths.
True that.
Oh,
So that
true that.
could
There you
also
go.
be, there's
That's
another
good.
option there.
That's good.
This
So
fits.
yeah, so that could be the men that were right, because that's what it is.
The fallen
the kings that were enticed by Sauron and
They're
turned
enticed by
into
the power,
wraiths.
and they lost their
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah,
That's
Indeed.
fair.
and now they're just hunting for the ring. That's their only goal. That's all they do. Killing hobbits, apparently.
On behalf of Danaher.
Yeah, on
Mm.
behalf
The
of
Dark
Danaher.
Lord.
Which, that lines up. So now
That's
I'm back in. I'm back in.
I like the counter narratives. I like it. I'm into it. I think we're open minded when it comes to trying to find a nerd lore to assign Jitsu to. It's good.
Well, it can all be true too. The only difference between the two, which I think our last guest Knack would have issue with, which is okay, but is the like Lord of the Rings doesn't necessarily have the gray area the same way. It kind of does though. There's a theme of the gray, but it's a little more cut and dry.
It's a little more black and white.
Whereas
What about
like
Boromir, dude? Boromir was like struggling.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I guess
Some of
that is
the
true.
men, they don't really put men in good light in the Lord of the Rings.
No,
Like, whatever.
there's-
It's,
yeah,
it's
it's-
lore. It's lore.
It's lore.
But the men were kind of like constantly like, are we good? Are we bad?
It's pretty much
wanna be good, but
everyone.
we're kinda
Only the
bad.
elves. Only the elves are the good, right? So I guess there is the gray. There's a lot of the gray in there, but a little bit less than in like
Star Wars.
Star Wars is more about balance, whereas Lord of the Rings is about destroying evil. Which, hey, maybe it does need to be destroyed, especially with the things that have been coming out recently, with just all the evil that is
maybe
within.
maybe we have the wrong Sauron.
So
Maybe,
maybe,
maybe
Yeah.
we need to
You guys are
reframe
being
that.
seduced.
Well, we
by
don't
it.
know. Maybe.
You're like, no, there's a gray area here. I'm like, no, there's good and bad in this story.
They're just I'm like maybe there really was. Maybe
Yeah,
it really
yours-
is all
yours
good and
soon
evil.
It's gonna be a ring wraith.
Yeah. Oh no. Maybe I'm Boromir. I hope not.
Maybe I'm Boromir.
It means I die before I go full evil, so that's okay.
No, you turn back to the good side.
you
Yeah.
turn back,
You
go out in a blaze of glory.
You die a good
Yeah,
man in a
you
blaze
got
of glory.
a blaze of glory. That would be somebody.
That's what better way to die is there?
It's really the best way.
Yeah.
It was in this scenario that would mean whoever is Boromir gets
Tempted.
tempted to, in this case, Kingsway, and then kills a bunch of them. Takes them all out. So he flips sides at the last moment, takes them all out, and then he gets one of the other orcs kills him,
Uruk-hai.
and then he's out forever.
Yeah.
Never comes back to the sport of jiu-jitsu. I do like this. I'm back in. I'm buying into this one now.
We just
Like
need to write it down. We're gonna write
It's
down the
turning
two.
into nerds drinking coffee.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
this.
It always has been. We've been closeted nerds. Dude.
Yeah,
we've
yes,
been hiding
yeah.
our nerd love.
Well, not only in the lore of Fighters Drinking Coffee, but just in jiu-jitsu lore, it's pretty much been decided that the crossover between extreme nerd and jiu-jitsu athlete is
Abundant.
pretty much 100%.
Oh yeah,
It's not a Venn diagram; it's a circle. So
1000%. Hey,
Well,
just,
there's actually not to bring psychology.
oh no, I
There
mean
is
that's
a
why you're here.
personality trait, a certain model called openness. Okay, openness to experience, and there's a subfacet of that is people load on of openness to fantasy. So this idea of alternative world. So there's an actual personality trait of people who are attracted to these sort of ideas of different realities, and they tends to be correlated with people who are open to learning in general and sort of open to new experiences. So it would statistically load on people who are interested in this.
Ah.
well, people tend to get like really into jiu-jitsu, right? Like as we are all nerding out on legitimate nerd stuff, but we're kind of bringing into our nerd world of jiu-jitsu as well, where there's an abundant big subculture. So it is like a new. You guys have probably experienced this / like seen this with like new guys who come in and they're a white belt, but like they show up to the gym, they really like it. They become your buddies. They're in open mats all the time. Maybe they're doing this. You guys are 6 a.m. or the 5:30 a.m. crew, right?
Or the 5:30 a.m. crew.
You guys are the morning bros.
Best crew.
The best crew. You guys are built different. But maybe they show up to some morning classes, and you can like, I'm sure you all have seen this, but like I've seen this so many times. But like someone comes in, then like they're like they enter into the jiu-jitsu subculture, and then they get like immersed in it.
Oh,
and then they talk to you about the current events like we're talking about. So it's like, you're right. Like there's like you can see someone kind of take the plunge into like, oh, I'm in jiu-jitsu
like,
now.
Jiu-jitsu lore.
Who is this guy?
Oh, yeah.
Who's number
following
one's
all the
coming up?
dramas and
Yeah,
stuff. I mean,
yeah.
I can't believe it occupies so much of my brain at this point. But knowing who these people are and who hates who. But
It was so much simpler when we initially got into jiu-jitsu because it didn't there wasn't as much.
There's no Instagram.
There was no like jiu-jitsu lore to the extent there is now. There was a little bit, like there was a little bit of like this team and this team are rivals, but that was kind of the extent of it because they couldn't shit talk on Instagram. So you had a lot less lore to consume, and maybe that was for the best, but I enjoy it. I do enjoy the jiu-jitsu lore. But yeah, man,
He was
anything else on Star Wars and Lord of the Rings?
no, I think that covers it
Oh, okay.
for now.
Okay.
for now.
We might weave it back
It'll
in.
come back. It'll get well.
I'll weave it back in eventually.
You're welcome to weave it back in as much as you want. Whichever one, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so before we break into, because we did bring you on to talk about psychology stuff a little bit. It doesn't have to be all of it, but
That's what I do.
yeah. Let's just break down your psychology background to the extent that you can.
Yeah, no, of course.
And that way the listeners understand that this is in fact an expert. We're not bringing on a random person.
In some things.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, he's an expert in jiu-jitsu. He won Masters World, at least to a level. The dad bod division, he is a master of dad bod jitsu. So, but yeah.
Yeah, professional background.
John Christian, the psychologist. Who is he? What does he do?
Yeah, well, I got interested in psychology originally. So I went to college because I wanted to wrestle. And so that didn't know what to major in. And the department chair, who remains a friend of me this day, happened to be a fan of the team. So my coach just said, go major in psychology. So I signed up for psychology. The first course I took, which was with a different person, Dr. Lene Hunt, she was just this amazing professor. And the class blew my mind away. And I was like, I took all the courses. And then Dr. Gary Taylor, who is the guy I mentioned, who was a fan of the team, he said, hey, if you want to do anything, you got to go get your doctorate with it. So I was like, okay, I guess that's what I'm doing next. So after I graduated college, went to Indiana State, where I got my master's and doctorate in clinical psychology. And then actually, I almost dropped out at one point because I didn't see myself kind of sitting in an office all day. I wasn't, I kind of grew up in a blue collar family, and this was like, man, I don't relate to these people. It's a lot of like drama type kids. And it's, I mean, good folks, but I was like, I just been a college athlete and didn't feel that. So my dissertation chair at this point said like, hey, slow down. Have you considered the military? So I didn't know the military took psychologists. So I looked into it, talked to a former military psych, and making a long story short, looked at all the services, and my Navy recruiter was kind of FMF corpsman, so Fleet Marine Force corpsman, like the medics. He totally sold me on the Navy, flew me to like San Diego, took me touring an aircraft carrier, took me dancing at Tijuana. So, yeah, there's a lot of
that's
money.
good sales.
People
That's a good sales pitch.
Yeah, prior service folks, like there's a lot of money to recruit medical type folks that your standard people don't. So most people aren't getting flown around the country.
Okay.
Anyway,
John was a wanted man.
I really wanted to serve the Marines. So became a psychologist in the Navy, did my residency at was then National Naval Medical Center. Bethesda, now it's been merged with Walter Reed, and finished my training there. And then stationed at Camp Lejeune. Ended up skipping over a lot. As the Marine Special Operations Command was standing up, I became the first psychologist over there, helped stand up their assessment selection program. Then I left active duty, continued my career in the government, worked for State Department for a while, and then missed the military while I was working there. So I went back in reserves, but this time some of my professional mentors were in the Army. So I joined the Army Reserves and the Army Special Operations Command, where I've been for almost oh goodness, 16 years now. And then I went back as a civilian with Department of Defense.
So you've been working with a lot of, to tie this into jiu-jitsu best we can, you've been working with a lot of like high-performing individuals.
Yeah.
And, so there's...
My career's really focused on, like, I haven't been a psychotherapist since 2007. I'm still licensed to do it. I still can. And a lot of foundational sort of skills are from there. My career is really focused on like assessment and consulting. I would say you think it as like, high risk operational personnel type things, high performance type folks.
Yeah. I like it. So we wanted to get your take. I sent you some of the stuff from the past 2 episodes that we were talking about cult-like. Well, I didn't send you the cult-like behavior, but we'll see what we can get on it. But I did send you the when we were discussing addiction to jiu-jitsu, which I think what you mentioned regarding that openness theory might actually play into both of these in some way, shape, or form. It feels like you were starting to lead in a direction there that seemed real. Like, I don't know, it seemed like it
relevant,
might go somewhere.
Very relevant.
Yeah. Addiction. Let's start there. Let's start with addiction. Let's start riffing on addiction. So we were kind of looking at is it like a personality trait, these people coming into it, or is it something inherently about the sport that gets people? I mean, it might even be both, but I think we were just looking at from like is this a replacement for other addictions? Is this something that people are coming in predisposed to, or is there something about the sport that specifically causes people to go all in? So is it the people, or is it the activity that's more leading people to? Because I mean, it's super prominent, right? Like a lot of people get into it and they just like train all the time. They go in from like 0 to 100, with the exception of some people. But in
a way that pickleball doesn't.
Yeah. Like unlike other sports that people pick up as hobbies, people tend to go way more extreme into this.
Yeah. So it's interesting because you can view a lot of these things through a couple different lenses, and I'll just kind of riff on it. I actually have a past of dealing with some of my training, my doctoral program, community mental health. Rural Indiana, there was a lot of meth addicts back in the day. This is pre-fentanyl. There's probably fentanyl addicts now. Really hard. The same people, just different thing. Really hard population to deal with. So addiction is interesting. So when we usually talk about addiction, and we'll take substances, essentially they hijack the brain's reward pathways, like neurochemically. And so, and there's different ones that neurochemically different effects, as you know. But if you're talking about like more behavior, so like a gambling addiction or something like that, again, you're talking about like kind of reward pathways in the brain. So you're getting something out of it. I would say with jiu-jitsu, rather than addiction, I would say you can view it as like highly rewarding or reinforcing. If we talk about that, like taking more like a behavioral approach. And there's a lot of ways, I think, there's a lot of reasons why. So I'm going to separate different sort of ways to look at it. So first, inherent in jiu-jitsu itself, it's really interesting because there's a community aspect, right? I mean, one of the things I enjoy is, I've made this larger group of friends with people I hadn't, I normally wouldn't be exposed to, normally wouldn't encounter. And it's also, it's a very personal sport because, you are touching the other person, and you're trusting them to stop and not break your arm or your foot, or to stop choking you. So there's a lot of trust involved. And I think that's inherently something unique about the sport. So the social aspect, and especially the forced trust that it happens to. The second thing, I come from a wrestling background. I was very kind of just the belt thing. I didn't get it. I was like, okay, this seems kind of, it seems lame. I was like, whatever, like, let me out. Especially, and there's still times I wish I, can compete at a higher level, because I was like, well, I'm going to try, if I lose or whatever. But I've really come to respect it for many ways, and it's something very interesting because it creates this automatic goal, like these goals built into it that are very outward facing. And it also plays to this human tendency to, especially in men, to value status with each other. And so you have this hierarchy set up right away. And so right away when you come in, you're like, it's a pull people have naturally to want to achieve those higher things. And it's outward, you wear it around there. You sometimes line up differently. The military makes very, very good use of this because, different sort of professions, you get a special hat, green beret, but it's a special hat when you come to, no, I mean, I love green berets, don't get me wrong. But it's a very outward facing, and there's pins and there's badges and there's all this stuff that creates hierarchy, and it signals to other people this, like certain things that you have accomplished. And so that appeals to people very much because status is important inherently to us, I think, as a creature, because we're inherently social creatures. That's a very important thing to understand about people. Now, the other interesting thing about it, it's thinking more at sort of a brain perspective, there's sort of this infinite, not quite infinite, but like wealth of knowledge you can go down. But there's also this really quick feedback mechanism when you're rolling, okay, that often you don't get. So you try something and you get a very, very quick feedback on whether it works or not. And so it's when something does work and you've been working on that in a while, we've all had that experience that it feels really good. That's the dopamine hit. That's the telling you you're doing the right thing. The sort of dopamine way. I think you guys brought that up.
We were throwing around the word dopamine.
Yeah, it's often simplified. And there's a lot of things it does, but like you can think at like it's kind of like it's your brain's way of telling you you're on the right track. Like you expect a reward, like you're doing something good. It's like do this more, sort of thing. And you think even in just a roll, this is happening repeatedly. You're doing things, you're getting feedback fast, in ways that I like. Not a lot of other sports have that because it's not as dynamic. And so, you got the social aspect, you got this with the community, this trust aspect with others. You got this then learning aspect that has this very quick feedback mechanism that does create really good feelings. And the other thing I would say is this I personally believe, there's just the benefit of physical activity, okay? And there's a lot of studies. This isn't pushed enough. My theory is big pharma, bad guys. But, exercise is just as effective as antidepressants for mild to moderate depression. You don't hear that. You hear, I learned that back, 20 years ago when I trained as a psychologist. I'm like, why isn't this pushed more? It's just, have that. But we are meant to move. We are meant to be physical as a creature. And so, we've all had those good workouts and you feel good afterwards. And the other thing I think too, that makes it, this is my personal belief, is we are happiest when we are doing difficult things. And, it's hard, and so that's sort of a rambling way. I hope I didn't ramble too much.
No, it makes, it's, I wanted to ask you a question too about, because we kind of joked about this on one of our, was it the addiction episode? It might have been the addiction episode.
I'll know once you say the joke.
All right.
Once you say the thing.
Joke, yeah. But it was kind of a joke, but kind of serious too, which is like, we talked about how the feelings that you get, like the sensations, the emotions, I don't know, you're the psychologist. I avoid my emotions. I'm like, I think they're called emotions.
It's when we were talking about addiction. Competition and addiction.
How like, because I feel like, to your point, all that registers and makes like, it's kind of like, this isn't like, surprisingly a lot like jiu-jitsu. It's like the fundamentals of like human psychology that like you're kind of like, duh, yeah, like we should all know that, but it's simple, but like not always easy to understand these things, right? But they're
I was going to say psychology is just repeating back what people intuitively already know.
It's confirmation.
They're head nod moments. You're like, yeah, that all makes perfect sense. But like to your point, like all those inherent reward systems just from the practice of doing it. But I guess what I was trying to get at, that me and Mike were kind of riffing on, we're hanging out doing an episode a week or two ago. I feel like to your point, like all those things you get them like almost like 5x'd or 10x'd in like a tournament setting because of like the stakes. You like, maybe because it does bring out that like, I'm be curious to hear your thoughts on like, maybe if there's like a change in everything you've talked about when we're doing it like publicly, right? Like, and everyone's watching like, oh man, like, cause we were kind of basically the joke was that like, after doing that, like regular life is kind of just like almost like
boring.
boring.
You have to compete to feel something, to feel things again.
Like,
that was the joke.
So dead inside.
Yeah. That's why we were joking about this as a drug.
Anything
that's why kind of like the joke / like threat of this addiction is like, this is our jiu-jitsu is like our drug.
Well, no, I think you're onto something because the competition. So here's my take again. Because this is something I started thinking about when I was an undergraduate, because I was an active competitor in wrestling, and I mean, I'll resist going too far down this path, but I would probably get too jacked up, too anxious. So it's interesting. There's something I'll put aside from when we go into like how it relates to actual performance.
Okay,
but yeah, those feelings, that adrenaline, that anxiety. I mean, essentially, it's your sympathetic nervous system is marshaling your resources, because there's a perceived threat in essence like that. There's something on the line. And so that's what the sympathetic nervous system does, is fight or flight response, right? And so that's those rushed feelings and those anxious feelings and all that stuff. And so, yeah, you feel very alive, sometimes it's very unpleasant,
Yeah.
So, it just depends. Especially if you're new to experiencing that, it can be very, very unpleasant. People new to competition and feeling that rush, and then, there's the adrenaline dump and other sorts of things. And so if you want to talk about performance, I mean, learning how to manage that and master that is a key if you really want to get your best at it. But no, I think definitely that is very, very true. That's the joy of it.
Yeah. It's so you do bring up people. There are definitely people, and I've coached people that afterwards like, yeah, I don't want to do that again. That sucked.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely people that are like that. And kind of pushing our narrative of it being drug-like, you do get used to it.
Yes.
So like the more you do, and like you kind of have to like, I mean, I experienced this last year getting back into competition. Like you get used to certain levels of competition. And so like, as you go, you're like, yeah, I'm not really worried about this. And then you get to like, I get to a bigger one, and it's like, oh no, like this is a different rush. This is a little more of a rush. And then like an even bigger one. So, this is now. And so like, it just takes, it takes more and more.
No, I'm a firm
believer
believer that like, if you want to be good at competing, that learning how to manage that mental side and how to manage that, that sympathetic nervous system response is a skill in itself. Okay. So if you want to get better at competing, do some competitions, like, and learn how to manage that. And some people never truly master it. They said, I don't think it was till my junior year of college that I really started figuring out the mental side of the game. And I'd been a youth wrestler, and that, so it took however long that was. I mean, 12 years.
Well, you're also still like growing as a human being too.
I was growing as a
like,
human being, frontal lobe still forming, absolutely.
Yeah.
But because so it's interesting with that arousal, because arousal is another way to put it, not sexual arousal, obviously.
Yep.
If you're doing that, that's also appropriate in jiu-jitsu.
Maybe it'll help you.
No. But like physiological arousal. And so there's something in probably the only law that I know of in psychology called the Yerkes Dodson law. You guys might remember from Psych 101 class. So it has to do with the level of arousal and performance on tasks. And so you picture like a bell curve. You can picture that, where say the y-axis showing up and down is performance, and then arousal, like that. So if you have too high of arousal, and these guys, Yerkes and Dodson, I can't remember their first names. I mean, this I think goes back to the 30s. There's, I think, doing studies on mice, if I remember. I don't know. It's been a while since I read it, but if you have too high of arousal, you're too amped up, your performance drops. If you have too low of arousal, same thing. You're not performing adequately. And the trick is everybody's individual level of tolerance for that seems to be a little different. And so you guys are both coaches. You've probably seen this. Some people maybe get too amped up, and that amped up, that sympathetic nervous system response can create a tunnel vision, right? Because it's fight or flight response. And so they might start missing opportunities, or they're not doing as well. They're forgetting things. Similarly, too low, it's like you're not performing your best as soon as you walk right out of bed, right? You got to be, your performance, your attention isn't focused enough, and that sort of thing. Your thoughts aren't focused enough.
I do want to point out on that John doesn't believe in warm-ups.
Sean, how dare you?
So I just want to point this out.
But at the same time,
I like the warm-ups you've been doing lately. Actual.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. Warm-ups in class or warm-up before a tournament?
I mean, he doesn't warm up before tournaments either.
No, here's, if I may, what I will say, though, to give John some credit, like, because I make like all my guys, I like make them do warm-ups for tournaments.
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do. But at the same time, like I feel like like your background, like you get like if you get an athlete who's done this enough times and they know what works for them, which I would argue you know what works for you. Like you've done that, so like you've done the homework enough to like, and obviously also you're a psychologist, so like you're educated on like what works well for you. I think you can get to a point where you're like, hey, like, and this is like, I mean, when we're coaches, we just have to like instill like systems on people because we don't know what we don't know, right? Like, this is what works for 95% of people. Maybe you're in the 5%, but until we get enough data from you, the new guy.
You got to know your perfect level. And at Worlds, I did pummel for like 3 minutes with someone.
Beautiful.
Nailed it.
All right. I take it back. And look how that turned out.
That's what I'm saying.
But for me, so I know myself, like I perform best when I feel relaxed and kind of happy. Okay. Because again, all growing up, like I would get too amped. I would get too amped and it was too nervous. And I don't like that. Like I feel the nerves at baseline with it. And even now, part of why I still compete is I mean, I don't like that feeling, but I like mastering the feeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Like I remember even for the world tournament, I saw the brackets come out. I looked up first guy, first trying to fight him. I was Instagram. He's this giant dude, and I got nervous.
I remember this. So he's texting
You're a giant dude too, by the way.
He's texting. He's like
really big. Like, yeah, you're hold on. What's the name of it? Again? Oh, ultra heavy.
I identify as a featherweight.
He's texting me, and he's like, yo, you need to look up this guy. And like he sends me the dude's Instagram, and it's like this giant farmer from Arkansas, I think it was. And he's like, it's just pictures of this giant jack dude in front of corn and like tractors and shit. I'm like, this is crazy. I was like, but also, I was like, John, you're like the same size as this guy.
That's what
he's like, he's so big.
You're like, John, that could have been
total
you.
Horseshit.
You went into psychology and like. That
we can take pictures of you in front of corn and tractors too, bro.
Yeah.
But I remember I saw that and I was like, I had to do, I mean, what would be like cognitive therapy on myself, track my thoughts, kind of lower it down, and then remind myself this is why I do it.
Yep.
Is to master that. But yeah, performing wise, knowing myself, like I'm usually the guy laying in the bullpen area, sort of just, being relaxed and trying to be happy and feeling loose when I get on. That's for me. But everyone has to find their own. Some people, you have to know yourself, and you'll only know your performance, your optimal level of arousal and performance, if you have some reps, get in competition. And yeah, there's just that. So if there's somebody new out there, you want to compete, do several competitions and monitor that for yourself. And what I would tell people is really pay attention to your own mental level, what your habits are, what you're feeling, and then see if you can relate that. Do an honest assessment of your performance afterwards, regardless of win or loss, because sometimes the guys are just better than you, but how you actually performed. And because again, too amped up, I mean, guys have seen it. I see this at times. Like guys will lose, have bad decisions in a match, and it's like use a bad strategy. It kills me because I can think of people I know who
shame them. No,
but I'm like, I know they're better than.
Yeah.
And I saw them but they're too fixated. Like, I want to win by this way.
Yep.
Yeah. They feel like they have to, cause I know who you're talking about. They feel like they have to, they need to win by submission and then give up their ability to win in general. Because we've talked about this specific scenario too, and we see this more than just the one, but we've definitely discussed one ad nauseum. So
yeah, because they're a very talented person.
Yes,
and you're like, I know you're better than this. But that's also a skill, that also shows you can beat somebody technically more sound than you if you're a more effective competitor.
Mm-hmm.
You're more, and a lot of that game is the mental aspect of it, and managing that. Have I beat that dead horse?
No,
okay.
Let's keep beating it.
Okay.
No, it makes sense. I've told my guys this a lot of times too. It's like if you're like, it's just basically like if you're more prepared for that environment, someone can be like like you said, I've seen countless. I mean, I've been in situations like this where I'm like, I'm better than that guy, but he just beat my ass.
Yeah.
Because he ultimately came more prepared, or maybe his plan was better to implement. He just could have been in a better mental, physical state but you name it. But yeah, like if you have a plan and and you're comfortable and you know how to implement it in that environment, like that's because this is a game. Like at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Like skills obviously
100%.
are a huge part of the game, and if you're, what did I say? I think I said like a plan, comfort, and you can execute it. Like if you can do that, like this other person may have a broader swath of really high level tools in the toolkit, but if they can't pull that into the 5 minutes of your match, like, and you could be a blue belt. Yeah. And if you're a black belt in the competition, like in that comp psychology, the ability to execute. I'm just using analogies, right? Like, you guys get what I'm saying. Like, you go up against a purple or brown belt who like is better in quotes, but they can't execute. Like, this is a game. This is like, in my experience, having like just gone out and kind of done the work that we're talking about here, out in the field. That was one of the big takeaways I had. I was like, that I tell my guys all the time that I'm like, competition in a game is different than the training room. Like when you care, all of a sudden, like in the training room, we all kind of care, but like a lot of times we're also kind of playing around a little bit. I'll just roll to my back, no big deal. Like when you have those behaviors in that like really calm environment of a training room, and then you don't know how to toggle switch that. And like, if you make the decision just to do what I just talked about, you just gave up 2 points. Just like the frame of mind changes, and you're like, I have to be present in a game now. And some people are really good. I'll say wrestlers, because like wrestlers have, by the time a wrestler comes into like a jiu-jitsu room,
you've had hundreds of
exactly. So you know how to do that. That's why like wrestlers are so. Like, anytime, like I'm sure you guys see, if you guys see a new like dude walk in who's like a trial class dude, and you're like a wrestler, like, all right, cool. Is he a good dude? Can we get him to train with us? Because that's going to be a major asset because of those things like that. They just know how to compete.
Yeah,
and they know how to compete by themselves. Like people can come from all kinds of other sports, team environments. It's different.
Yeah,
you got to go out and do it yourself. Like it's a skill set that, I mean, obviously wrestling is uniquely, in our similar worlds, brings a tremendous skill set for that.
Yeah. No, and I mean, that's kind of the cool thing I've also sort of embraced about jiu-jitsu is, so growing up wrestling, I mean, everything's competition. It's a competition base. Now you're seeing it because at jiu-jitsu schools we'll have wrestling. I mean, I teach a little basic wrestling class and guys can kind of learn and have fun. You're trying to spread the love of the sport to people. But in general, from day one, you're preparing for a competition, and then you're being pushed into a competition, and you're experiencing getting your ass kicked, or you're kicking someone's ass, or both. And it's like it or not, even if you never get good, you are repeated exposure to that situation. And actually, as an interesting point with that arousal again, because so like anxiety disorders, right? To pull my clinical psychology background. So a lot of times there's an avoidance response. People want to avoid something that's causing them anxiety. Anxiety is an unpleasant feeling, so it'll trigger an avoidance response. So like we'll take a simple phobia for an essence. I'm afraid of spiders. I'm going to walk away from the spider. Okay, and it takes away the bad feeling. That's what's called negative reinforcement in operational conditioning. Throwing some psych stuff out.
I like it.
Good.
Negative reinforcement is not punishment. People in vernacular misplace that. It's taking away an aversive stimulus. Anyways, you really want to get over anxiety for the most part. It's exposing yourself to the stimulus provoking that anxiety, because then you learn to adapt to it, because essentially it's triggering that fight or flight. Something's telling you like this is threatening, but really if you lean into those thoughts, then you adapt. So in essence, so that's a big thing. Like with parents, who don't want to expose their kids to unpleasant feelings, you're setting those kids up for an anxiety disorder later in life, because they never learn how to cope. They never learn how to lean into negative feelings that they can master them, really cope in essence. So it plays right back into this competition thing. You want to learn how to master those negative feelings, that then you have to just expose yourself to it, and then maybe have a plan. And it all plays in together. But crap, I had another thought. Oh, but the training environment, there's sort of a different orientation though, or at least there should be if you want to get good. It should be more of a process orientation rather than sort of a win-loss. And that's the time, and this is, I think also growing up as an athlete, I'm grateful. I think I'm good at this. Mike can tell you or not. But you work on your things you're bad at. Like it is a time where losing, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all. So, that's the time that you should be focused on like competing against yourself in essence, that am I getting better at a thing? So if we're going to go deep into it too, now I'm a middle-aged guy. Sometimes I like to just come in and goof off or whatever with my buddies. But if I'm focused on getting better, I will have like just the other day, I actually was struggling with thinking about something to work on. So I asked Mike, what should I work on? He said half guard or deep half entries.
Because you had told me you wanted to work on I want to add deep half to my game. I was like, okay, well let's work on being in deep half.
Yeah, it was like brilliant. Brilliant. So yeah, it was
Why
just
didn't I think of that?
But like, so the rest of practice, that was just the goal. So sometimes I didn't get it, sometimes I was gotten it, whatever. But if people coming in and treating those roles as a match where it's win-lose, they're robbing themselves of the ability for a learning experience. And it's just getting all ass backward. That said, if you're in a competition though, and you're like, oh, I'm just, I'm going to learn, that's the time to, now it's the time to win.
A little bit of a gear shift.
Yeah. It's a different mental set. So you need both mindsets depending on what you're doing. But feeling rambly now.
When do you think, just from like a openness standpoint to it, like mental openness to it, once we've gotten through, because some of this is the coach's job to help with the learning experience, but once we've gotten through the match, and let's say in this case the person's lost, is there a specific window that is the better time at which to review those losses? Like, is there a too early? Is there a too late? Like, when should we look back at this?
I can't think of any research I'm pulling on to think about that, but intuitively, Mike, you grew up wrestling. It seems like every wrestling coach, as soon as you're off the mat, wants to go over like 6 moves. I'm like, I just want to sit down and like drink a Gatorade. Like I don't even remember what the hell happened. Like I'm not interested. So I just have so many memories of that. I'm like, I don't remember anything that we just talked about. But that's me. That might be individual. There might be people who can absorb it right away. I don't know. I know for myself, it's probably not until after the competition, frankly, unless there's something serious. So there's most things in life. It's not an either or, it's a both and, I would say, like most things. So, if it's something that immediately after a match, you notice just pick something more wrestling, their stance was too high. That might be a time because it's an easy fix, like just lower your stance. But if it's something complex, like I'm going to teach you a whole new freaking takedown, not time.
Yeah.
Not time to master it. I don't know if I have anything more intelligent to say.
No, that's fine.
It kind of depends on the individual.
Yeah, it depends on the individual. Yeah. A lot of things. You kind of got to, it's interesting. So I'm become friends. So actually, he's not the Campbell's wrestling coach anymore, but he's at the National Wrestling Coaches Association. This guy, Scotty Sentes, really good dude. Was All-American. Getting to know him as a booster of the program still, and just being friends with him. He was telling me his approach to coaching different guys. And it was just interesting hearing him. I didn't ask him about this, but he said, well, so-and-so, he likes before match, he needs me there, like totally encouraging him, like pumping him up, blah, blah, blah. He's like, that guy, he doesn't want me anywhere near him. Like, he's like, leave me alone. I'm in my head. And this other guy's over here taking a nap, so you really got to, that's me. Yeah. I'm like, John, get up. You like to joke, I'm trying to become Instagram buddies with my competition isn't working out.
Yeah. He does
disarm them.
He's like performing psychological warfare in the bullpen, where he's like hanging out with the guy. He's like trying to exchange numbers with them. Like,
I'm an extroverted guy, so I can't help myself.
Like you said, you like to feel happy.
Yeah,
I like calm.
Happy.
Like, this is just a jiu-jitsu tournament.
He talks with the guy tries to talk to the guy the whole way. Like, if that guy will
I did notice that. I felt bad because it was the finals of Worlds, and it was a super good dude. We're Instagram buddies now.
There you go.
He's this French guy. And I was coming out, I was like, oh, let me try my like 5 words of French, and now I'm talking about. I realized I was like, oh, I'm reading social cues. Like, he wants to be in his zone. I was like, I'm sorry, man.
No, but it's okay because this is the finals of Worlds. There are no once they pick you up out of the bullpen, it's fair game, baby.
No, it's not something I'm trying to mess with them. I'm just like, oh, cool. Like let's have fun. But yeah, I don't know what we're talking about that. But that said, like, I mean, when for me personally, when the as soon as we shake hands, and I mean, how I function, I do mentally, it's purposeful. I flip a switch.
You lock in.
I lock in. Yeah, it's my time of like, that works for me. Like, I can't be there leading up because I'll be too amped up, but I have it. And I have my ritual. Usually I take a step back, bounce once or twice, and then I'm at it.
Yeah.
And that's where you sort of access the dark side of yourself.
You're kind of saving, like you're like saving the juice for when you're like, I've got this.
Yeah.
I'm 5 minutes about to go, and I want all of my effort concentrated into this 5 minutes so I can do the best job possible.
Yeah.
As soon as
that's how, and that works for me.
It makes sense, man.
Well, I mean, you see a lot of guys that flip the switch early. Like second they're in the bullpen, they're exhausted, they're angry, and then those guys tend to have the adrenaline dump super early.
You can't maintain that like that. Yeah. You will mentally exhaust yourself before you've even stepped out on the mat. And then by the time it gets you, like, God damn,
I'm tired.
I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I need to flip my switch sooner.
Again, for me, I like to go out excited to be out there, like excited to perform, and which is actually interesting. So there's this other theory. What's it called? Goal orientation theory. That when we engage in something, you could sort of be task focused or process focused doing things, or kind of ego focused. Okay, so ego focused is like, or I think they also better showed competency demonstration. Like essentially, you're showing off, like a time to to
display your skills.
Display your skills. You need both in a competitive match. That I like to switch to an ego focus. Like it is time. This might be revealing too much of my own psyche with this, but I want to beat the person in front of their family. I want,
I get it.
Like I want to show off.
Yes.
I want to do that.
Yes.
And but it's access, and it's not how it doesn't reflect my value system day to day. Like I have no ill will to the person, but that's the mental state I need to be that to perform my optimum. And so I'm accessing that side, and it does help being a psychologist. I think become a psychologist.
You're tapping into your dark side of the force.
Yeah. So so Freud, going back to him, controversial. He said, so psychology is interesting. There's like more research-oriented ones, and there's kind of this more philosophical type. So he had these kind of two forces, the eros and the thanatos. And not the Thanos, don't confuse it with that.
No.
So the eros is more like the creative and loving aspects, whatever, and the thanatos is like the death instinct and the aggression and the destruction. And so Jung, his student, might have called it more the shadow side or something like that. So you are accessing the dark side of yourself, and that's okay. There's a wrestler who's one of the top in the country right now at, I think, 65 kilograms. You might know him, Austin Santo.
Yeah.
He's a couple-time All-American you see him compete. He's emotional when he competes. He's angry. He's emotional. He's kind of a dick, but it works for him. Another guy, Parker Kekheisen, is well known for being just so chill like that. So again, it's knowing what works for you and finding what works for yourself. And so it's not like an either or, like you have to go in and just have fun. It's not. Some people might need to be reminded, like, have fun, like enjoy, like this is your time to perform. Some people might be like, dude,
go kill him.
You need to go kill him.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
So, anyways, anything else? Yeah. Sorry.
Any more psych questions before I have listeners' questions? Do we have any?
Man, that was really good stuff, John. That was super interesting. I almost feel like I need to click my. I was trying to listen. Like I'm getting the psychologist to talk to me.
Dude, I'm loving it.
I don't need to be like awesome. Rambling.
No, you kidding me? It was great, man.
That's why you're here. We're here to hear what you have to say.
Let's definitely get to the questions in a second, but I feel like I do have questions for John after all that.
You can ask your questions first.
Well,
we're here.
Maybe it's reactions. I don't know.
No.
It does make sense. Like especially like that last bit, right? I've had tournaments where, you got me thinking about my kind of like reflecting on my own process. So like I've talked to guys who, talked to my students who, we'll put it this way. You made a couple comments. I guess I'll kind of respond to. One of them was your buddy, the coach, Scotty something or other. That guy who had he's like, dude, I know what this one athlete needs and what this athlete needs a little bit different. This other guy's kind of in between or whatever. I've talked to students who really like having me around. They're like, hey, like, I'm going to go do this tournament. Can you come, please? Like, it's evident that like they want some type of presence, right? I say all that to say some of my best performances have been like when I just go off on my own.
Yeah. So that might be what you have learned for yourself.
Maybe. Or like, to me, I feel like it's like when I go, because I've gone in lots of times where I've competed alongside the team and I get like maybe just kind of drawn out of where I need to be mentally as an athlete, and I kind of focus a bit more on everyone else to be like, all right, like, because I'm in the position like I'm a coach, but I'm also an athlete, but it's kind of tough for me to do both.
Well,
so I kind of defer to coaching a little bit more because I get paid to do it.
Attentional capacity, think about it. It's limited. It's not unlimited. You don't have unlimited amount of attention to give. So that would be extremely difficult to both be competing where it's inherently selfish. You know, you're focused on yourself, and coaching, which is inherently giving of others.
Yep.
You know, so that would be, I mean, I don't think I could do it. I wouldn't want to.
It's been difficult, but sometimes I can do it well. It's tough to like get.
Do you hear that, Scott students? You're getting in the way of his success.
Yeah, get out of the way.
You're making him worse.
Barriers to success.
But like it's just fascinating, right? Because some of my some of my better performers have been where I've just solely just focused on I'm just going to go do this thing. This is what I'm going to do. There's no other distractions. I'm just going to lock in on this, and this is what I'm doing. So, and it could just be that. Like I think what you said that makes the most sense. Where it's like it's a challenge. Like, all right, I want to get locked in, but like I got 5 guys. One of them's never done it before. 2 of them have, and like let me take care of them. That's kind of like what I get paid to do. So I'm sort of like, to me, I'm also like, man,
you're a professional coach.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to defer to that first and foremost, and then whatever's left, I can do my own. And like I've done fine, but a lot of times just not my best. So, anyways, that it resonates in a lot of ways. Just like, dude, and the rest of it I'll have to think about more too. Like, I think I kind of like getting into I need to kill this person mode too. I think
it's a balance, and it's not like it's really not until, and it's not even kill. Like, I mean,
I'm having a little fun with it.
This is.
I mean, it's
such
a
dark
level
side of me.
It's a level of killer instinct.
No, it's like I said, I want to beat them in front of their family.
Yeah. I'm going to put that in the world of I'm going to go. Yeah, whatever. That's a better.
And it's
we're saying the same thing,
but I don't. Yeah, no.
We're saying it differently. We're saying, but I know what you mean though. Where it's like, yo, it's time. I want to show,
and I want to be happy doing it.
Yeah,
it's fun.
We put so much work in this. We do like what we do puts our body at risk all the damn time. Like we sacrifice so much.
So this
time.
is the fun part.
Let's go do it. Yeah. Let's go put out our best, man. Like I want everyone to see how well I've done, how much work I've fucking done for this many years, man. Like this is it. This is my minutes. This is my 5 minutes.
That was my junior year of college when I realized that. Like I made the decision. I'm happy as I step on the mat, and it totally changed me. Again, but that might not be for someone else. They might have to be angry or whatever, or whatever thing. But you need to find that optimal arousal state, because again, my default was to get too amped, so I needed to switch it. So, and it still is.
Yeah. Just on the flip switch thing. Normally for me, I try to have it happen when I immediately step on the mat, and then sometimes it doesn't happen until the person. Like, it does. Yeah. So like, it's like, all right, it's like sometimes, but there's definitely been time, like, so actually,
I think I know where you're going with this.
Interesting with that, like where, so like Worlds is the example that I'm going to use because this is probably the biggest example of it, where, they have to attack me first, right? Like they do something and it's like, okay, now it's on. It's a fight now. So like, there's definitely that ability to flip the switch because sometimes I'm late with it. Sometimes it's like, sometimes it's on the right time. Sometimes it's like, all right, I need sometimes you need the outward force to create.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked about that before when we did your warm up at Worlds because Shane had brought up. Remember we talked about this?
Yeah, we talked about
that was a really cool
igniting the central nervous system by having somebody literally just like smacking on
a guy I've coached a bunch of times. He's an MMA fighter as well, right? So he won Pans last. He's a super successful jiu-jitsu fighter as well. But his like main career focus is MMA. Like you're gonna get hit, you're gonna get kicked. And I remember him telling me we were doing his warm up before Pans. He went on to win. Mike cornered him, I think, in his finals match because I was drawn into coach. I was just coaching this time, so 2 thumbs up for that. But anyway,
you were coaching Andrea, so I went over and
you helped out with it with Shane, which was awesome. But after he won the tournament, we were like kind of just debriefing. We drove up to New York and drove back, so we had like a bunch of time to talk and stuff. And he was like, what actually would be a good idea? Because I'm always asking for like, what can we do differently? Like let's figure out what worked, what didn't work, and just talk strategy? Like, what can we do better next time? And he had a cool idea, which it fits with what Mike's saying, which is that he was like, look, dude, like our warm-ups are really good for like just getting like that sweat to kind of deal with the adrenaline that's like right in front of us. So like be like, all right, we're like have the first fight before the first fight, kind of is basically the idea. But he was like, can you attack me during the warm-up a little bit? And I was like, okay. He's like, I need to kind of like get hit a little bit. He's
so
like,
he's an experienced competitor. He knows that he needs to ramp his arousal level up to get his optimum performance. That's how I read it in context of Yerkes, Dodson performance.
He's also kind of like you said, he's also very calm and like very like smiley. He was a Marine, by the way. So it's like these are dudes who kind of like, I think they just there's like an edge to like, yo, like we're fighting. Like so, but his comment made sense where he's like, no, like for me, he's like, it really the switch flips when the other dude tries to like these guys are coming out to potentially hurt us, right? So like I need to be ready for that. So like set me up for that before we go out there. Like try to hurt me a little bit, like smack my head down a little bit. Which is what me and Mike did before his match.
This is interesting.
I asked Mike, I got Mike's buy-in, but I was like, dude, do you want to run this one? Like, do you want to run Shane's suggestion? He was like, yeah, let's do it. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to snap your head down a little bit more. I'm going to be a little more aggressive in our hand fighting in the warm-up. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it did work. I just used the example. That was the surprise was mainly because we expected a different thing.
Sure.
That was an over preparation issue, but like that like attack, the initial attack definitely like, you know, that's the flipping of the switch. But sometimes it's when I step on the mat though, but who knows?
Well, even in the match, it's important to maintain not too far in either direction.
You gotta be present, right?
You gotta be And so you know, some people might benefit off leading up to practicing like mindfulness meditation or something like that. Like I just find people who lose awareness of their own what's going on inside of them. And so you see the people, they get too amped up again and they're in a match and they get emotional and they start making bad decisions, or, you know, they do something really stupid, like throwing a punt. I never got that. Like I understood those people. But they start making bad decisions. And, you know, I see in wrestling a lot of certain things like they don't know when to like concede a takedown and start coming up. You know what I mean? They fight too long, they get on the back. So they're losing awareness of what's happening. But again, or they get too comfortable. You know, maybe they get a lead and they're getting too relaxed then and, you know, focus. So it's maintaining that level of focus and awareness and optimal arousal level is important, not just leading up, but during it as well. So
that's that presence thing. I think it's I think Hodger Gracie has a whole thing on that, like champions stay present.
Yeah,
that he talks about. So I mean, like, yes.
Well, even like, you know, bring this to like my soldiers with whom I work, something like that. You know, they go through. You know, I mean, you don't want to talk about high arousal levels. You know, it's a firefight. You know, I've never been in a firefight, so I want to talk about that. But I, you know, deal with these guys, and you know, they're practicing, they're training, they're doing so much so that the arousal level doesn't overwhelm them, and they don't get the tunnel vision during it. You know, so they're prepared when they're actually in the situation to make good decisions. But again, they're not going to fall asleep. I mean, that's going to be hard to find somebody who's too relaxed as they're being shot at. But I guess in theory.
So you actually might be a good person to ask about this, because this is something that was said. It is related to that. That was said to me recently, or someone brought up the theory recently. And this was something they had heard from someone who goes into those types of scenarios about PTSD. It's about post-traumatic stress disorder, and how they were saying, now this is, I'm not going to name the person, but this is the quoting that what was quoted to me, was that the PTSD specifically in like wartime scenarios they were referring to is because they believe that is due to having to be reactionary versus proactive, is what they were talking about. So like not being prepared for the scenario, like you're talking about here.
I could see where they're going from, and I would frame it this way. It's too bad because a lot of these terms get overused, overthrown, but let's take a step backwards on what do we even mean. So let's even just define trauma. Like what is a trauma? So a trauma is something that like overwhelms your coping mechanisms in the moment. So it's not in handling something hard that you have to overcome, but it kind of overwhelms it. And then there's kind of echoes kind of happen. So having worked with many combat vets, it gets really complex because some of these guys have pre-existing sort of other issues that are brought out. But let's just take something clean, and there's this like terrible situation. A lot of these guys downrange in combat situations specifically, they spend months during the peak, let's say peak of combat, not now, but like when we were really running and gunning as a country. You have a combat patrol like every day. We'll say that. You know, you've seen a buddy die yesterday. You're back on mission today. Something like that. I mean, those are real stories that happen. Think about those cortisol levels spiked for so long, and that that arousal level, that sort of mechanism of fight or flight gets hijacked a bit, gets reset. And so what you see is one of the core symptoms of what's called hypervigilance when they come back. And so they are excessively vigilant or watchful for stimuli in the environment that trigger like that response. And so there's a patient of mine back when I was a clinician. He was a Marine. He had done, this was when IEDs were a big thing. He was back and like was pulling some sort of duty as an MP or something like that. And he's telling a story. There's like some drunk guy he's got in the back and he's in the front, and then somebody's driving the car and there was a bag of trash at the side of the road. He freaked out, jerked the wheel, said the drunk guy's like flipping out. But it was like right back. It's an IED. We gotta go.
It was in his brain. Yeah.
There was no IED.
Got it.
Yeah.
But it was in his brain.
It was in his brain. Now, what are protective mechanisms? So one, some of these are just unavoidable because those are such extreme circumstances, but like what the military tries to do, and I don't think it's just they've been doing this wonderful, is what a psychologist would call almost like stress inoculation training or sort of theory. So they're through their training, through hard circumstances, developing the ability to cope with stress in essence, and to train within them the ability to make decisions under stress. So like a well-trained police officer, not to make this political, a well-trained police officer doesn't draw his gun and shoot somebody, whatever.
Right.
They are making a decision in the environment based off of their training in the environment. Right. Okay. So same with the soldier, they're not opening up fire on a village because something stressful happened. They have training that has developed them be able to master the stress response and to make positive decisions within. So I think that's probably what
I think that's the pathway that they were trying to lead. The discussion was trying to go into is that stress inoculation, because that was at the end of the thing. That was the moral of the story is like, hey, because they were trying to apply this into jiu-jitsu. It's, hey, instead of having to react to situations, we're going to practice already being in those situations so that we're not stressed out in real time. Like we're ready. So, I mean, it's the same thing. I just was kind of trying to.
And as an aside for people
so you answered
listening, I mean, sometimes, my experience with that, like combat stress, a lot of what was masking, looking like PTSD, I would call it like unresolved grief. A lot of, there's just, that's a whole
other subject.
That's a whole other subject itself. So, these kids are put in such awful circumstances and often had to make such large decisions, and would take such ownership, say, if something went wrong, and they never fully like worked through that. So that's a different topic though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other
listener questions?
Let's
do it, man.
Oh yeah. So John knows these people, which is the best part.
Mikey told him it was a different psychologist.
Yeah,
so they were all laughing. I wasn't considered.
We were gaslighting all of our training partners and telling them about. I was like, yes, I got the psychologist coming in, and then one guy's like, oh, you didn't ask John to come on the show? And I'm like,
a good psychologist.
Yeah, I got this other guy that we kind of lined up. But like whatever, guys. Do you have any questions?
There's not a lot of psychologists in combat sports. I don't think I've encountered another one. Well, actually, a guy I went to grad school with.
Maybe you should have maybe you should specialize.
It's I love being a psychologist. I love psychology. It doesn't tend to draw.
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you're a hot commodity in the world you're in, man.
I like it. So question number one, and this guy listens. Does BJJ help strengthen the mindset, and how? This is from Rock.
Yes.
I won't drop last names.
So just like what I was saying, so let's separate competition and training. Okay. Cause we talked about competition a lot. We'll touch that competition of willingly facing a hard situation strengthens the mind. So you're choosing to put yourself in discomfort. You are going to master discomfort better when you comes in a scenario that you don't choose. Again, that's like stress inoculation training. That's saying like you were prepping yourself. If you've never encountered anything stressful in your life, you melt as soon as that. That's why I say like parents who protect their kids too much from frustration, they never build frustration tolerance. Whereas like if they have and control it, I don't go home and like
make your kids frustrated.
Fucking with your kids. Just say, let's
be frustrated.
I'm doing it for
You'll
you.
thank me in 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's competition. But similarly in training, there's a lot of things that are uncomfortable. So one, there's inherently it is a humbling experience. Okay. So, I grew up wrestling. I was fairly successful in wrestling. Do you change the rule set a little bit? And grappling is like, wow, I just got choked. What happened? I just got this. There's a choice then that's made. Do I only do the good things, or do I sort of dive into this and weigh in and sort of face that frustration? Because sometimes it's frustrating. Like, why am I not getting this move or whatever? But by embracing that frustration, you are mentally tougher. That's true. And it's just tiring sometimes. So by willingly choosing discomfort, you create mental toughness. That's a fact. That's well backed by science.
Hell yeah. Science, bitch. Next question. A lot of the next 4 are from the same person, from AJ, which my answer for all of his questions is to come to class. But and question number 1, how do I shift my perspective from I lost to I learned during tough roles? So, I guess I guess mental.
So there's a lot of things right here. And so let me unpack this one a little bit, because there's a simple answer but there's more complex. So I lost, inherently within that, there's a lot of messages. So taking a cognitive psychology perspective, cognitive therapy, which takes there's all these thoughts coming recently. You're evaluating a situation. They sort of you dig down and they draw from some deeper held beliefs about self-world and others, in essence, and to use a Beckian model to be.
Of course.
Yes.
Beckian model.
Essentially, I'm going to simplify it, that that sort of threat to your, we'll use the word ego or your identity, where it hurts, that's essentially that. We'll take a different sort of approach. This narrative, this story we tell about ourselves. So we all tell these stories about ourselves, right? We're inherently meaning-making creatures. And so, it's okay if I wander a little bit in that. We're inherently meaning-making creatures, and part of who we are and how we organize our experiences that we have through life, and we tell these stories. We are storytellers as a species. And what's interesting is that we choose the stories we choose to tell ourselves, right? So if I asked you about yourself, it's impossible for you to relay every detail of your life. You are picking and choosing, and it fits this narrative. So, which plays into identity, which has been totally mistalked about in popular culture, because identity is very fluid and changed. And so identity, one way can be thought of as the story we tell about ourselves, right? So what I'm hearing within that phrase is I lost is I was defeated. I'm not good enough or something like that. There's something like that. And so it's going to have to be, a purposeful mental switch that you have to start changing that narrative around it. Okay. And start realizing that that's not a useful narrative. That's not a useful way of looking at it. It does not help me achieve my goals. It is self-defeating. Okay. And that only takes by just recognizing it. Now, it's not going to be a switch you flip. So it has to be a very conscious effort of working at changing that narrative and working on evaluating thoughts. And so some of it will be that mindfulness again and recognizing the thoughts started going on. And an emotion could be a trigger to that. So if you feel that negative emotion of sad or defeat or anxious, that's a time to stop. That's a stop sign to sit and start examining what just went through my head. What sort of image or thought or message just went through my head that triggered that emotion. So what I'm hearing is it was a negative self-evaluation. Okay. You can challenge that. The lucky thing is, so if it is I'm a failure. something like that. That's a cognitive distortion. That's a global statement that's not like reality. Instead, changing is like, I have something to learn right now. You know, that's a switch that has to be purposeful. So like I said, I'd say, take that emotion, use it as a stop sign, evaluate what image or thought was going through your head, work on changing that narrative to something more productive. And this isn't just, you know, woo-woo, psych, feel-good shit. This is reality. You know, I mean, I believe there is a objective reality, but we perceive that objective reality imperfectly and we construct it very much. And so these is well documented thinking patterns of like depressed people. There's a pattern in that of these cognitive distortions. They're distorting reality or anxious people. So you can actually master this though through these techniques. So switching it to, I would say now going back to that goal orientation theory, that's when you switch it to a process learning and orientation, a process orientation that what did I learn? Like, what can I take from this right now? And then I would switch it from there. And some of this, I think those of us who've competed a long time or done these things a long time do this kind of intuitively is, well, what do I work on now? Like, what am I going to work on? And we set smaller goals. I'm going to work on guard retention. I'm going to work on whatever small thing. And if you can't think of it because you lack the skill base enough to identify that, so when you go to your coach, you know, who is the, you know, if we're going to go into cults, the master. The master. You know, you go to someone who has more knowledge to help you do that. So did I hit the question?
Dude, I think you nailed it.
Yeah, no, that's...
You just tell that guy, we're here to train. Seriously, right? No, I mean, I was just...
We're here to train. So I tell my young wrestlers. So I see that. So growing up, I'm very proud. I turned in like somebody who was good at takedowns eventually. But for my first 3 years of wrestling, I don't even know if I took a shot. Like I was so afraid to. And I remember this is like, I can't remember if my coach put this head, like I had to make a conscious decision. I'm going to start shooting and I'm going to start coming up with the shot. That's the other thing. If you're struggling with takedowns, come back to your feet. But it was I could not wait for the emotion to catch up and to propel that. I had to make the decision first and then the emotion caught up later. Like, so the fear. So when I tell my young wrestlers, I'm say, I just want you to take a shot. If you lose, if you get taken down, this is practice. Who cares? Like it means nothing. It's meaningless. You know, you're not going to improve unless you're taking those risks. So
can't improve until you humble yourself.
But it's recognizing that emotional component because people, what I find a lot with difficult things, they want to wait for the emotion to happen first of confidence. But confidence sometimes follows, it comes later. It comes after taking risk. And there's a really interesting study taken in a different way. So there's a whole approach to therapy, just behavioral therapy. Sometimes with depressed people, one of the things you do is behavioral activation. You know, they don't feel like doing anything. Like, how do I feel like doing something? So you schedule it. You don't wait for them to feel like it. You make, like, we're going to have you start doing things. And then the emotion eventually catches up and it's like, oh, we feel good about doing this. Does that make sense? Anyways, all right. Sorry, Mikey.
Oh, no, you're good.
No, this is good stuff, man.
No, so I mean, I guess that kind of all falls under that, like, self-speak, changing your negative
self-speak is what it is. I mean, that's all grown out of like cognitive therapy, behavioral therapy. Yeah. I mean, Albert Ellis, Aaron Beck, his daughter, Judith Beck. Yeah.
Got it. This one, this kind of, but there might be I think this is a slight variation on the first question. But we'll take a whack at it anyways. What is the best way to develop mental toughness when I feel like quitting?
I mean,
so it
goes right to that. No, it's good right to that. And it's so, I think we have to recognize sometimes what emotions are. I mean, they're kind of mysterious, right? Like, why do we have emotions? Like, it's kind of weird. Like, what is it? Okay. But you think, evolutionary psychology, there must be some adaptive mechanism. And so some ways of thinking, like, they help reinforce learning or they help, facilitate action or something like that. But they can often be barriers to something like that, or deceptive because our perception of things is not always locked into reality. So if you're waiting to feel, what was it again? The
mental toughness.
What is the best way to develop mental toughness when I feel like
what this is going back to exposure to discomfort and exposure to anxiety. You become more skilled managing those negative emotions and managing that discomfort by purposely exposing yourself to it, but keeping in mind, this is going to be uncomfortable. This is going to be not pleasant. I'm not going to like this. And eventually you learn this is not that threatening. Okay. It's kind of like your first, like when you get stuck, like, in a certain, like somebody really heavy in side control or something like that, and they're laying on you and it's kind of panicky.
Tell me about it.
Show me. You lay on me. You lay on
well,
me.
you know, and you know, it's you have to learn like, okay, I'm not dying. This is really uncomfortable. I don't like it. Like, so I want to get out of this, but I'm not going to die. Okay. I'm not dead. And so I can tolerate this. And then, but through repeated exposure, you're then aware, like you have taught yourself, I can handle this discomfort. And that is mental toughness, because it's saying like goal directed and essentially in the face of adversity is all that is. But that only comes through exposure to adversity.
So I guess in that, to expand your example there, right? So rather than tapping out to pressure in that instance, right? You accept it and you just
like, this sucks.
Take it.
If I have to wait 5 fucking minutes of this round,
yeah,
like I know I can handle it. And then you've taught yourself, I handled Tiny. This is a guy we trained with who's not tiny, sitting on my chest for 5 minutes.
He's bigger than John, by the way.
Yeah, he's not, and he moves really fast, which is like just like really unsettling.
Yes, he does cartwheel passes.
He does cartwheel passes.
Whoa.
Yes,
my life flashes before my eyes.
Don't
this
land
guy
on me,
well
bro.
over 300 pounds.
Just pass my guard as long as you don't land on me.
You can have it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, but does that make sense? Does that sort of
yeah? So like, you know, to
I mean,
translate, I guess.
You know, in old school wrestling coach, it's like suck it up and deal with it, sort of thing.
I like
but that's not. But putting it better, it's not that, because that's kind of a harsh way. But there's a lesson there. But it is like you got this. You will survive it. Teach yourself that you will survive it.
Yeah,
you only teach yourself that by doing it.
You will be okay.
Yeah, so
you don't have to
know
quit.
this. It becomes easier over time. That's the other thing, because sometimes people I think quit because it's so unpleasant in the beginning. It's so stressful. But once you learn to master it, you've taught your body, and it's not stressful anymore. It'll never be like some pleasant some things, but you have taught yourself, I can master like uncomfortable things. That you have built yourself a new level of mental toughness.
I like it. Yes, good.
I got one. If do you have more questions?
I have 2 more, but you can ask yours.
I was curious. I was talking to someone about impostor syndrome in our space, and I've experienced this before, like in the past, maybe still a little bit these days. But like going up against, like imagine like you're going to a world championship and you face like a guy you've watched on TV.
Yeah. Okay, so this is interesting.
How do I step up?
Okay, so can we unpack it a little bit?
Unpack.
Okay, have you?
Do you want to use me as an example?
Have that happened to you?
Years ago, but yes.
Okay. Do you remember what you were thinking then when you saw that?
Yeah, like holy crap, this guy's better than me.
Okay.
Right? Like
so that's good.
Totally just because you're like intimidated by the situation.
Yes.
You're saying before you actually started.
Yes. I had a match in ADCC trials 9 years ago. I was a new black belt. And I didn't, this is my story, dude. I've kind of had to Ronin my way through. My black belt, my professors were always like remote, right? So I was kind of like going out into the unknown of this shit, like on my own. Anyways, but yeah, like going up against a dude, you're like, oh, I've watched this guy on TV. Like, I don't know if I can, I kind of like almost like acquiescing to defeat before you get out there. And when I grappled with a dude, like 6-minute match, ADCC, it was competitive, man. It was a good match. Like I left shit out on the table, right? Like it became a lesson for me. I kind of like, I have worked through that. I mean, let's work through it.
Yeah.
But, I remember very much like having this like, oh my God, I don't belong here. This guy's going to kick my ass. But then going out and doing it and be like, no, man, like, I mean, I didn't even believe it in the moment.
It's a perfect example. And it's good insight in what you were thinking. And I'll say it's normal. Okay. And what's interesting about all these things, it's set up. We'll take this back then to like social comparison theory and status and all this stuff. This person has status that you don't have because there's this social media presence. And we're hardwired to think, well, then they
must be amazing.
They're better. They're of a higher status because of this. Like I am below. Okay. Like that. Now this is all false and it's, horseshit. It's made up. And they might be, they might not be. But this is all.
We don't know, right?
We don't know that. Which is the stressful and exciting part of that. But that is the time again you stop those thoughts, you experience that emotion, you stop those thoughts, and you start evaluating that. Like, like, what is the evidence for this? Is it just because he has a strong social media presence? Yeah. Is that the mark of a talented grappler? It's not. Like, so you can kind of play scientist with it. He's better because I've heard of him. I've heard of him because whatever social media sites put his name. What is the evidence that, like, there is no? So you can start evaluating it. It also comes down to, do I give up? Do I run away? At the end of the day, you're going to shake hands or slap bump or what are we doing jiu-jitsu? And you're going to get after it. Okay. And you can rephrase that narrative like, this is exciting. I'm going to be the giant killer today or whatever like that. Or I'm going to be this. Some guys are really, really good at that. Some guys get so wrapped up in, researching the other guy's records and all this other stuff. I mean, there's a balance because, you can get game plans. I mean, that's a whole other topic. So,
sure.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Reframe the narrative from this guy's better to me to I have an opportunity to prove that that I'm as good as these guys.
Yeah. This is my day.
Yeah.
This is my
day.
Yeah. Some people really like to be the underdog too. So what they have done, they flip the script on its head. Because other people, once they achieve something, then they feel pressure. Because they're like, there's a different imposter. So which plays on imposter syndrome? I've achieved this thing. And it's really interesting because jiu-jitsu also has the potential to set this up once you get a belt level. And I see it on social media. I feel imposter syndrome. I don't feel like a whatever your belt. Because in their mind, they have built this story around what that means. And they have said, and then they achieve it. Like, well, I don't feel any different. I didn't get my magic levitating powers yet. It's all the story. It's all the story we're telling ourselves, and it's the meaning we're ascribing to this. Okay, so we have to challenge that and challenge the reality of that and potentially change it. So these are all. I mean, these principles just apply across so many things.
I like it. It would be cool though if we get our belts and you like unlock new moves like in a video game. Like
new power unlock.
Your legs still can break, dude. It's like
I unlocked a new move.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean that's a super useful I think that's a super useful thing
lesson?
Lesson. I'm so bad with words. God.
I forgot the word words.
I forgot the word words.
What are the sounds we make to express thought?
What are those things that come out of our mouths? So next question. How do I maintain motivation when I feel like I am not improving? I'm really, is he going to quit? Is he? Well, he has said this. Yeah, he's
kind of awesome. It's kind of
No, he's staying. AJ, you're staying.
AJ, you're not allowed to leave.
We're speaking it into public now. You can.
So maintaining motivation, and this is interesting. So I think you have to take a step back and be like, why am I doing this? So you ask that first. So what is my motive? Like, what is my goal? Like, what am I doing this for? Okay, and that's the first thing. Because almost no one's like, I want to be the ADC's champion. Or like want to be, but like that's not my goal.
Right.
It's not my goal right now. Maybe when I was young, like out of college, I would have loved to have tried that. But I'm a 47-year-old dad whose body is breaking by the moment. That's not why I do it. So I'd say for this person, why are you here? What is your goal? Now, Now, relating to that's the last question, if it's wrapped up in this idea of sense of self and ego and sort of your evaluation of yourself, you're setting yourself up for failure right there because this is not you. It's maybe it's a side of you. It's an identity. It's something you choose to do to goal. But the greatest athletes all fade eventually. Some live on like for a while, but like your Michael Jordans or whatever. But your Babe Ruth. But, you fade. And people and you find this after people stop their sport where it has become a central core of your identity. I mean, I remember the feeling of loss. So I broke my ankle my senior year of college. It was my best year. I was returning national qualifier. And when I broke my ankle and basically had to miss my season, I felt a loss of identity, a loss of myself. And it was something that was really hard to deal with. And I talked to my buddies I wrestled with at college. They talked about how hard it was leaving that behind. Like, that's not me anymore. That's the story I told about myself. This was such a core aspect of what I told about myself. So if you were treating jujitsu as this is me, this is the core aspect, you're gonna set yourself up for failure. Instead of like, this is something I enjoy doing. This brings me pleasure. This brings me joy. I like doing these things. That's going to be motivation. Now, temporary motivations. Now, goals can help too. So if you do have a goal, like I want to win IBJJF, whatever, that can be a great goal in the meantime to do the things you don't want to do. So in the train up, I had a seam, give me some ways to develop my cardio. Yeah. I don't like it. I like pushing weights around. I'm not going to lie. I'm doing it now. Now I'm trying to do it more because, I'm an old guy.
He listens. I'd be careful what you say about his programming. He might make you do more.
No, it's good.
No, it's good. I love it.
I did cardio today that I skipped. So anyways, but that motivation for a goal helped push me to do things I don't do right now. Okay. So in the temporary, if your motivation, but that was my motivation. I want to do this. This is on the path there. I'm going to do this thing I don't want to do. Okay. But day-to-day jujitsu, if you were letting it destroy your sense of self, you're inherently unmotivating yourself. But if you're taking an approach that I'm going to get better at this thing, I'm enjoying the company of my training partners, I'm enjoying the sense it gives me, that will be your motivation. If you're having a hard time getting up in the morning, the other thing to teach yourself, like a lot of these things, it's harder in the beginning, but you build a habit later. And so know that things get easier after you do them over time. I'm weaving in a lot of different thoughts. I think it remained.
It makes sense. Do you think to merge a couple of those questions into one? I'm a psychologist now.
It's not
do you think it's it could be like a confluence of the same story, kind of leading this dude into just a direction that's no longer helpful for him, and therefore just, like you said, maybe just make a choice, switch your story over to just two directions over here, and you're good.
Yeah, I'd say switch it right now. Yeah, so stop putting so much pressure on yourself for. What are your goals?
Quit trying to win training.
Quit trying to win training. Win getting better this week. Am I better today than I was yesterday? Am I better this week than last week? The other thing with that, this one thing I would warn people though, is learning plateaus are very normal. Training plateaus are very normal. And so it's really interesting. If I could take a detour with this.
Yes.
There's something, part of what I think maybe makes jujitsu addicting. So there's something called an intermittent ratio reinforcement schedule. So something out there.
Oh, baby.
You all hear that?
I don't know what it is, but I like it.
You lost me.
So it's sort of it's the best example you're always taught when you're learning about this is a slot machine. You don't know when that win's coming. You might pull 10 times and you get a win. Then you pull 2 times, you get another win. Then you pull 100. You don't know. And so it actually shows that's the most powerful reinforcement of giving something to create a behavior. Now, what's interesting with jujitsu with that is these breakthroughs kind of happen unpredictably. And I think to me is man, I can suddenly hit this sweep that I wasn't able to hit before. So that's sometimes a reinforcing thing. But if you're not someone who can tolerate the discomfort if you're not aware that these plateaus exist in learning and you're making this all about your ego, you're going to become very disheartened very easily in these things. If that makes sense.
Yeah. If you're worried about beating the person in front of you who is in fact your teammate in this case.
And that guy's also getting better too, because that's what the plateau,
and you're setting unrealistic expectations of yourself. I watched 5 videos this week.
I'm going to submit everyone on Wednesday.
That's right.
Why can't I do this move that I learned online?
I'm now the master of Octopus Guard 2.0.
I watched it once. I'm ready.
Why can't I use Octopus Guard? Yeah.
It makes sense.
No, that makes plenty of sense. Any more on that one?
So with that last one, it's almost like if I can just draw it to the slot machine thing, is it basically just
keep pulling the
slot machine, right?
Keep pulling the slot machine.
You don't know when it's going to happen, but
you know when it's going to happen. So no,
keep showing up to training, and it'll happen. Just
show up, and you can accelerate it, like I said, by hacking how we learn best, and by being purposeful in your training and setting yourself small, achievable goals that often, again, take advantage of your coach to learn what those should be. So you're not wandering around in the dark, but those small achievable goals. So I'm going to get better at guard retention. That's all I'm working on for this next month. That's an achievable goal versus I'm going to master worm guards or whatever the hell that is. I don't know. I know what worm guard is, but like, like jumping right into it, like I'm going to master this thing. Like you're not going to master it right away. And through it's like you, especially new people. I feel like once you train for a while, you kind of get this intuitively, but new people I see get very frustrated because they're like, I've been coming and I still haven't like submitted Mikey or something like that.
I think this is also something that, that becomes prevalent with people that are already an expert at something else.
Yeah.
This happens a lot with people that are really high performers in whatever their profession is, or they were elite at something else, or they see themselves as being an expert in X, Y, or, whatever other, hobby they have. And they come to jiu-jitsu and they're not an expert, or they feel like they're not attaining expertise fast enough, and it's hard for them to like.
Well, that's that ego orientation to things, is that you're doing it for the observation of others or sort of the status of others instead of the task orientation of I am doing it to get better at this thing. And so those people I would say need it most, because you need your ego need to kick in the ass and you need to settle yourself down a little bit.
Can we Matt enforce these people?
That's right.
No.
I'm just curious. Like, I mean, so I think you called out like some practical takeaways too. Like maybe if people listening, if they're coaches or coaches, you coach, and you've coached like wrestlers, you've got that lens as well. I have this like a refrain that I've kind of like exercised with some of my students that I learned for myself, which was basically, and this is I guess the call to action for people in a coaching position, which is, I feel like sometimes, like you said, there's like a goal/task orientation that like folks can come into training with. And if they're not appropriately like focused in on a thing, they'll just kind of, their eyes will wander wherever in jiu-jitsu. And so we'll kind of just be like, you'll come in and do like, you might do months of jiu-jitsu and be like, and you even just showing up has value, right? But like you might not, if you're not paying attention to a thing, like you mentioned guard retention for like my thought or my observation using myself was like, when I actually pay attention to a thing in training, I tend to actually observe, noticeably 100%. Get better at it, rather than when I kind of come in and I just wing it. And some days I'll just wing it because like you said, like I just want to show up. I'm 40-something years old. Sometimes I want to show up, but I just want to move around too. Not every day has to have like an absurd task observational focus, but all I'm saying is those days I'm kind of flown. I just want to move around, right?
And that's that sort of balance in the mindset. And you're exactly right, because imagine if you're trying to master a language, psychology. Let's say you're trying to learn psychology, and I came in and I just read a random portion from the book every day. I just flipped open something. Like it's going to take you forever to tie it all together instead of focusing on one thing at a time. You need those times where, like I said, I just kind of want to fuck around today and goof off with my buddies. But like if I'm focused in, like usually for me, because I've learned this, and I know this is the best way to learn. So whatever's taught in class that day is what I've taught in class. I can't retain it. Sometimes I can retain it, maybe not. But like I want to go back and I'm like, okay, I'm back to focusing on escaping side mount from Tiny or something like that. Or I'm going back to deep half entries. And that I might just focus on personally until I feel like I got it okay enough. And then like I usually move on to something else. Because if you I feel like, and I don't think there's another way to do this with jiu-jitsu, because I've thought about it. You're coaching a wrestling team, you have a season, you have the same people there every day. You can set a course of instruction to kind of develop them out. Jiu-jitsu, you got people coming and going all the time. So you got, there's really no great way, except you're teaching some moves, people coming and going. So you as an individual are going to be overwhelmed too much if you try to learn the 3 moves of the day every day. You got 15 moves a week. It's just, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. So if you set a small goal that's achievable, that I'm going to focus on this one thing, whatever it is, then
you'll get better at it. Like
you'll get better.
You'll concentrate your effort on this thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what
I mean, from a coaching perspective, and just because we're in the same room, I have maybe like 2 or 3 guys that are there every day, so I try to focus in on a section, like on like a position for at least a month. So like I try to,
and I love that. I love since you're doing that.
So that there's always everyone always has a context to it. But the issue is like you kind of are, if it is constantly, it's a ever expanding, like ever growing thing, because, it's like, all right, we're going to start on Monday, and then like 3 weeks from now, we'll have continued through this like progression through this position, and we're kind of reinforcing all of these things and building upon whatever we learned that first day, right? Like it's a constant building. And if like this week we started deep half. And so if the people on Monday and the people on Thursday is completely different people with the exception of 2 people, then you have people that feel lost because, you know, so like.
How do you meet the needs of everyone?
Yeah.
Because I've experienced that coaching the wrestling class. I've realized, I mean, there's just a new kid who showed up last night. And so I had planned like to focus on one thing. The people who started showing up, I'm like, okay, we're going to go over this. He doesn't know how to stand. You know, I got to teach you how to stand. You know, and I'm like, okay. So that's a challenge to jujitsu specifically. But say, Mikey, I think you're doing a good job with it.
Hey.
But I guess my kind of an additional, I think this is like a little additional point for this. Give yourself, try to find context in every single, like in the lesson, right? So you don't what is being shown isn't finite the way it's being shown. And I've told this, but it isn't, the way it's being shown isn't the finite solution. You can find context or details that are applicable in other things that you do.
The threads
use.
Start pulling together. Somebody once compared it to learning a language, that suddenly it starts making sense and you don't know when. I haven't experienced that, even though, again, lots of wrestling background, but you know, I've mainly in the practice, I play guard because I want to learn jujitsu stuff. And I'll say I experienced that. I'm like, oh, I'm starting to see how this now ties together a bit more. But it didn't make any sense to me. I was like, why am I on my back? Why is he on his back? He's supposed to get off his back. Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, like I just think if you get too focused on doing exactly what you're seeing and not like just, you know, if you look too big picture, right? Like, why am I doing this? Versus just like, what is happening?
Well,
what are the little movements and attachments? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's tell those people, like, again, embrace the frustration, lean into it, and have faith that like you'll master and pull it together. Because it does, you know, eventually starts to make sense. And put your, like, stop putting so much pressure on yourself. That like this does not define who you are. Like it's like your ability to hit an omoplata does not define who you are.
Yes.
Now your ability to hit a double leg takedown does.
Oh, yes. If you can finish it, you better be able to hit those. Because wrestling is like a marriage, as John would say.
Yeah, it's like, you know the secret to a good takedown? Commitment.
Okay.
That's right. Same as to a good marriage. A successful takedown, successful marriage. That's
awesome.
Both take commitment.
Oh, baby. And we do have one more question.
Bring it.
What is the best way to prepare mentally for training on days I feel lazy or tired? So in other words, how do I get my ass out of bed?
Well, I mean, that's exactly the thing. Like, what is your goal again? Because that's when a long-term goal is more important than a short-term goal. And that long-term goal has to resonate with you emotionally in some way, because that's important. You know, so you doing the cardio. That seemed to be cardio. I don't want to do cardio, but I do want to win worlds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, shit, I'm going to do cardio. There was never a day I was like, I can't wait to jump on that assault bike.
Yeah.
Like, yay. No, I hate that thing. I can't wait to hit the track. No, fuck that. But I really like to win. So like, I will do that. So what your goal is, like, I want the satisfaction of earning my whatever belt one day. Well, like if that is a goal of yours and it resonates, you have to tell yourself that in the moment and remind yourself of that. That's why there's so many sports movies that sort of say this, you know, like the Rocky movie that he has Drago up on there, you know, he sort of grabs it as he's training. And, you know, that's just like, that is reminding yourself of the goal. You're triggering your emotional response to say like, this is important. So I'm going to get my ass out of bed and train. Okay.
Dude, can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
What is it about like how like I feel like psychologically and physically, like when you this dude's asking this question is probably because like most of us when we wake up we don't always feel awesome, right?
Yeah, no.
So like when like the physical, I bet it's a brain thing. Maybe there's like a maybe it's a testosterone thing as we age, but like when we get more tired, like we have to tap into emotional stuff to kind of motivate us to go.
Oh yeah.
Because like when you're like up and you're like, oh, I can do anything. Like training feels amazing, right? But when you start to get tired,
oh no,
it starts to break you down. Like what is that? We're like, maybe it's like a reward.
When the motivation comes out.
Yeah.
So
you got to dig deep.
Well, and to kind of add to that, there is that point with those things
where
you have the breakthrough moment, right?
Yeah. Like, or if you're on the assault bike and you're like, oh my God, I'm fucking dead, but I'm going to keep going, dude. Like, what is that?
Well,
it's cool.
I think it's that, like what caused you to break through that? You know, I think what you have done where you've like, I have broken through it. You've had mastery experiences before that where you can remember and you're tapping into, I remember how good I felt because I conquered, I've conquered that feeling of wanting to quit. And so sometimes that's what you tap into.
Sometimes got up those stairs.
Like I was Rocky Balboa. I climbed the mountain or whatever. I climbed the stairs. But like, that's a good feeling. And like, that's sometimes what I tap into. I've never like regretted working out. You know, I've regretted blowing it off and sitting on my ass and, you know, doing whatever. And like, man, why did I?
The feeling of shame when you don't run the full 4 miles.
But like, you have to have those experiences of learning that to draw upon that to master it. And this is like so many people who are not experienced this. A lot of us, so you were a swimmer, Scott. So I mean, that's a very demanding sport. You did it at a young age. Mike and I were wrestlers. We have experiences to pull from of knowing what that's like to conquer something. And I think people who don't have experiences to pull from, that's going to be harder, but they will get it. You just have faith. And then those are a motivating thing in itself right there. So remembering your goals. The other thing I would say though, too, you have to have, there's different phases. So if you are a competitor, you can't keep a competitive mindset up for a full year. Like most people can't. Like you can't train like I'm in training camp or competition for a full year. I mean, most people burn out in some way. And so it's good to have phases to things. So then you might switch your goals, like switch from that ego goal, which, you know, winning at big competition. It's an ego goal. I want to do that. Like that's okay. It's okay to have that. Then I might switch to more, I want to get better at deep half goal. If that's what it is. And so that's going to be my shorter term goal. It's less emotional. It's more process oriented, less sort of ego oriented. But you can have both. You just got to know when to switch flexibly between what's right.
Cool. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Any other closing remarks? This other one's not because the HVAC is fixed. So any hope of actually, the answer is it's already fixed for this last one. So I'm not going to even ask you that one. Not like you have control over it anyways, but you know, they did ask that for some reason. People are having separate I don't know why they're asking the supposedly random psychologist about the HVAC.
How did you feel about the HVAC?
How did the HVAC make you feel?
I liked it when it worked. Yeah.
That's good.
Hell yeah.
Cool. It was good. That was awesome.
Yeah. Any closing remarks?
No, that was fun. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, we appreciate you coming out. We made sure to keep John fed too beforehand. So we don't want him dropping out of the ultra heavyweight weight class.
I don't think
I'm very worried about that.
You work your way to his weight class.
That's why I'm trying to feed him.
Mike is an honorary heavyweight because I will tell you this. But so we have a chat group of guys over 200 that started because it was sometimes it just wasn't fun to train unless one of them were there.
There used to be no
Mike,
heavyweights.
when I first got to know him, he was the only guy who'd come in. He would always jump in to train with the heavyweights. And Mike's like one of the smaller guys in the gym. And so in my phone, he's heavyweight Mike Son.
Yeah.
Because there was a time when there were in the before times when there were like 2 heavyweights in the morning,
like
and sometimes Ali, just one.
Ali and Perry.
Yeah,
that was it. So we started the chat group like, "Are you going to train today? Because if not, I'm not coming."
Yeah. And now it's like
mostly
all heavyweights in the morning,
and you
and me.
Yeah. So eat those bagels, bro.
Yeah, like so some days we'll have like it'll be 50-50, and then other days it'll be like all heavyweights and like 2 small people.
Awesome.
Or sometimes it's all heavyweights and meat.
It's awesome.
So
the way it should be.
It's great. So, you know, the secret battlefield is secretly the
Thick Boy Center of Excellence.
Yes, the Thick Boy Center of Excellence. So if you're a big guy, join Battlefield. It's where we make champions out of big people.
That's true.
Asim did say that we should take a picture one day with all of you guys and me, and then turn us into turn us into the Monstars from Space Jam. So I like that. I guess that makes me Marvin the Martian. Whatever that means. But yeah, so thank you, John, for coming on the show. I mean, heck, we got an hour and 45 minutes in.
It's good stuff.
We probably could have, it's actually probably a good thing we didn't go down the cult pathway. This would be like a 3-hour episode.
We could probably do like a listener, like, hey, ask a psychologist, like call in segment with people with John once a month. We could get some good stuff out of it.
Oh, actually, that'd be pretty sweet.
Once a quarter.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah. But hey, once a month, whatever.
We could even do like the Q&A, and then like I could get a question. I could, even if he can't make it out, I could just ask him and get a question and an answer and just have it ready to read, like mailbag style. Hell yeah.
I love grappling. I love psychology. So it's rare that they get to
talk
like
to people. This stuff calls
about.
out, like it challenges the mind so much, man. So
I love being a psychologist. I love psychology. I do.
I feel like I now have a additional edge understanding it just a little bit better after that.
This has got to be at least one college credit course.
I'll sign off. I was an adjunct professor for a while.
Hell yeah. Can we just sell the this episode to George Mason University? I mean, just because they're the closest one. Just
make some calls.
Hey, just make people listen to this. So, and just, give us the money and we'll pay John.
Yeah,
maybe.
Pay me in biscuits.
Whoa, dude.
We'll pay him. We'll pay him. Hell yeah.
Done.
You all heard it here. He works for biscuits and Tillamook ice cream.
Oh man, that's my dream job.
Is that what the government pays you?
Do they pay for other things?
That's great. But yeah, so maybe we'll do that. Send us more questions for John's, guys. Like, just drop those in the Discord. I've been forgetting to plug that, but join the Discord, drop us questions for John. We'll make sure he gets them and he answers them. And then we'll give him biscuits and ice cream. And then you can also reach out to us on Instagram with any questions and any other questions. So it doesn't have to just be for John, guys, because we will turn them into topics or at least answer them in an episode. So, you can slide into the DMs, drop us some questions. You can hit us up in the Discord. So those are the two ways I guess you can get it. You can just, if you have our numbers, some of you do, you can text us with questions. That's fine. And other than that, 5 stars, drop some comments on the show, listen to it like on everything that you can. That's cool too. Pump those numbers, baby. And other than that, let's see, like, subscribe, stars, comments, Discord. I think that's it. Keep listening, guys. Thank you very much. I love you. Bye.
Bye.